Hello and welcome to UPSC Preparation Simplified, an initiative by RAU'S IS Study Circle, where we try to solve the problems that you aspirants might be facing while preparing for the UPSC examination. Now, you are aware of the fact that UPSC has recently concluded the GS papers of 2022. And today we have a special guest, Mr. Rahul Puri sir, who is an expert of political science and international relation, and he also teaches international relation and internal security for general studies. Sir, welcome on board.
Thank you, Nagin sir.
Sir, paper has been concluded. I can say that the cat is now out. Now the point is, what is your impression, the first impression about the paper, about GS paper 2, primarily from the focus of international relations?
After seeing the paper, what I can say, Nagin sir, is paper was on the expected lines, not only in terms of the weightage, but also seeing the topics which have been asked. So every year UPSC is following the same trend from in particular the topic of IR. The very macro aspects have been asked, and it's a fine balance of touching the traditional with the what is going on in the current perspective. So very easy, the questions were not very difficult, very easy for the student who is reading the newspaper, well versed with the current affairs and have a good understanding of the basics of IR, would have been easily able to handle all the 4 questions which has been asked by UPSC this year.
Okay, sir. So, sir, when we look at this paper looks like something which is very current centric. So, what is the right way to approach this paper? Should we focus primarily on the foundation aspect or the course aspect of the subject, or should we focus more on the current affairs?
Okay, sir. This year, it is like, this is, as I said, paper was on the expected line. The trend is same, and UPSC is emphasizing more on the current aspects. What is going on in the current scenario? Every time UPSC going to ask those things itself. But current never means that you just read the what is current in IR, especially if I have to talk about IR. In current never means that you ignore the core of this subject.
Yes, sir.
Without understanding the core, you cannot handle the current. Now, last year also, when US went for withdrawal from Afghanistan, it was on the expected line that one or the other aspect will be asked by UPSC on Afghan dynamics. This time it was the Sri Lankan crisis. So question has been asked by UPSC that what role India is playing to mitigate that crisis, what can have its impact on India, and what needs to be done from our side to restore stability in the neighborhood. So you can see 2 questions being asked by UPSC from the neighborhood itself, because neighborhood dynamics are very important. So the question on Sri Lankan aspect and the SAARC and the BIMSTEC,
yes, sir,
are from the neighborhood itself. So first thing, foundation you cannot ignore. You need to understand the dynamics first properly, and then you can focus on the current aspects. So there needs to be a fine balance, understanding the core of the subject and then focusing on the current aspect.
Very nicely explained, sir. Because when we look at BIMSTEC or SAARC or our relation with our immediate neighborhood, so Sri Lanka, as you mentioned, these are the basics, the core on which we can see the addition of current developments.
Developments only you will understand if you understand the basics first properly, that how our dynamics has evolved with Sri Lanka. Though not been asked directly as such in the question, but you need to understand that how our ties has evolved. Where lies the importance of Sri Lanka in our scheme of things? Why we can't afford to see instability ushering within the neighborhood? Instability will give upper hand to, probably it could have given upper hand to China. So India needs to be proactive to keep the threat of China away from the region. And just if we shift from immediate neighborhood to extended neighborhood, a well-compiled question by UPSC on I2U2, because India is aspiring to play a much bigger role in the West Asia. So India is coming out from the slumber, and India is now trying to play a much more proactive role in the West Asian neighborhood also. And ITU2 is the best example.
Wonderful, sir. Now, moving forward, when we look into the questions, we always see some interesting aspect as well. So there's one aspect which talks about clean energy,
yes,
and India's position on various forums in terms of clean energy. So what we can interpret out of this question? Is it a part of international relation, or is it part of interdisciplinary approach?
I'm sure it would have come as a shocker to the students while writing the mains, and whosoever have approached the answer for this question, I don't know how well they would have compiled, because doing justice to, it seems easy, but it is very technical and a typical question. Drifted from the expected line. This is not the question of environment. They have not asked any environmental aspects in this. It's a question of how India is changing its strategy to deal with the environmental issues. So for sure it requires interdisciplinary approach to compile a well balanced answer for this question. So you need to be very specific while writing an answer. You cannot beat around the bush. You cannot write something which is not relevant. You have to be very specific in our approach. What India has done in the recent years to show that India is now much more serious towards mitigating the climate change. So like few points to quote to substantiate this line of argument is that first thing, now India is much more proactive.
Yes, sir.
Earlier, India was very adamant that that the Western world needs to play a much bigger role, and India was demanding CBDR. But now India, even if the Western world is not fulfilling its commitment, as we saw US came out of the Paris deal, India from its side has taken many initiatives to mitigate the impact of climate change, because we understand climate change will going to have its severe effect on us.
Yes, definitely.
Considering our agriculture based economy, which is based on the monsoon. So now India is much more proactive to deal with the climate change issues, not only engaging with the world. India is ready to engage bilaterally. India is ready to engage regionally to mitigate the climate change. And this approach we have seen in the recent year from our side. Be it Quad, be it ITU2, we have brought the environmental aspects in those geopolitical groupings too.
Yes.
So this is the new approach which India is showing, and India is taking the issues of environment very seriously.
Wonderful, sir. I think this was one of the most difficult questions to handle.
Yes, out of 4, this was the most challenging question, because you need very specific information in this.
Sir, this actually makes me very excited about the next question that I'm going to ask. And the next question is that, sir, how well we have covered these topics through our foundation course?
In RAU'S, during the foundation classes, again, sir, what we emphasize is the basics of the subject, the core areas where students needs to focus, because when student comes, they come as a blank slate. They do not have any idea about the world aspects. Okay, and foundation classes give students the clarity of the world politics, the core areas where they have to focus, the important concerns of India, so they understand their knowledge area widens. They start understanding the dynamics from the wider perspective, and that's how we give the clarity to the students in the foundation classes. So if you see the questions which has been come this year also, all the topics are being touched in the foundation classes.
Yes, sir.
And after foundation, to add on, so that students should revise everything again, we help the students through our QIP classes.
Yes, sir.
In which they go for revision. So it's a revision class for the students, and as we have seen, Mangal sir has done a fantastic job, and all the questions again he has touched in the QIP too. So I don't think so a student who has attended the foundation and the QIP would have faced any difficulty while solving these questions.
That's very heartfelt from your side, and I really believe that all the students will get benefit from this entire ecosystem, the learning ecosystem that we have created. So thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing this piece of information. I think that this is going to be very vital for the students who are preparing for the UPSC examination. Now, not every student will be in a position to be part of RAU'S IS learning ecosystem, and there will be people who will be studying on their own. So from their perspective, how important it is to focus on newspaper, and how much of an importance one should give on that? Can you throw some light on that?
Yes, sir, sure. It's a very important question, sir. And I remember when I started my preparation and started following the newspapers, earlier it is not easy to understand in which perspective you should start your newspapers. Okay, so I'll recommend to the students who are starting for UPSC and who can't come to RAU'S, or they are in college and they want to start their preparation on their own, the one thing which they can refer is our DNS. And continuously they will follow. It's not like they just start watching DNS and within a week they're just getting, they're feeling, oh, we are not getting, it's too complicated, and they drift away from that. They have to maintain this consistency. Just keep following DNS for 2-3 months, and then they will start making sense that how to read newspapers. So the best way, what I personally feel, and this is the advice which I want to give to the aspirants who are starting their preparation and who can't start systematically with RAU'S, or they can't come to Delhi, or they have some other constraints. At least they should start from watching DNS. And consistently, if they will do that, this will start giving them the sense how to approach newspapers. So this is the advice which I want to give to that.
So the first point of connect could be say DNS.
Say
Based on
DNS,
that,
yes.
they can understand how to read newspaper.
Yes.
And then later on focusing on newspaper and some important relevant material.
Yes, because it is very difficult to tell in this video that how to read newspapers, because it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of this understanding build in a year or so.
Yes.
That how you need to approach newspapers. So they can read any good newspaper, daily newspaper. They should start they start scanning the paper, what is coming in the newspaper, start making themselves aware with the things which are going on in the world, within the country. And the best way to start, what I can suggest, is DNS.
Wonderful, sir. Thank you, sir. I think this will bring a lot of clarity into the minds of the students, and they will definitely benefit. And I believe that next time when you students are taking the examination, you will be in a position to achieve the best rank that you deserve. Now, if you like our content, please do like, subscribe, and share, and keep us motivated by commenting as well, so that we can bring more of such videos. Thank you for being part of this session. Take care.